Greetings, Transurfers, and welcome to this week's Consciousness and Reality Transurfing teachings, which we have on a Monday and Friday, merging and culminating in a Wisdom Wednesday meditation. And before I start to today's transmission, I invite you to like and subscribe to my page and to hit the bell notification and have a look at the description below, where you will find lots and lots of goodies, from a free energized painting, a free discovery call with me in light to further coaching with me, some energy transmissions, breath workshops, and my new online course, which is currently at half the price. So we spoke about attention, inner attention and outer attention, and we also have the attention coming in with the purification of intention. Now, in the past few lessons, we've spoken about the outer intention and the inner intention. And the outer intention is a huge, unfathomable force, which is also quite fluid. It is control, and at the same time, the renunciation of control. It is simply the decision to have at the same time something as the abandonment of the need to achieve it, almost like a surrendering. And this is something that's not familiar to the control of the mind. We're used to securing what we desire by setting an inner intention, because we are really programmed beings to do with security, control, approval. And we're so used to having security with what we desire with this inner intention that we are so used to thinking that if we have the right and direct impact on the world, then the world will respond immediately to what we wish to have. The idea of inner intention is very clear and very straightforward. But even though this is so, things don't always come that easily. You still need to make that effort. You still need to insist on your goals, or often struggle for what you want to fight your way forward in life. And in reality transurfing, it actually suggests that you let go of launching an advance towards the world, because the world itself will offer its embrace to you as the outer intention. And this is quite an unconventional approach, which is bound to leave a rational mind quite confused. But when we look at non-duality teachings and Vedic teachings, they often say to let go of the mind, the ego, the control, and to go into complete surrender. And how can you really achieve this state of balance in which you combine the decision to have with abandonment of a direct action? The answer is obvious. You have to maintain a balance. And this balance is maintaining a balanced, pure intention, which means wanting to have something without desiring it. So to take care of something without the worry, to strive for something without being distracted, to act for something without demanding. And this balance is destroyed by any level of importance called excess potential, of a real projected outwardly importance that you're giving something. And as you already know from these teachings, the more important the goal is, the harder it becomes to reach. The reason being, because the more important something is to you, the more attention you give it. And this is what builds up the excess potential energetically towards it, which can actually push it away. The saying that if you really, really want something, you will eventually get it, will have quite the opposite effect if the wanting is intensely driven and frantic attempts are made to acquire the object of desire, because you're actually pushing it away. Some people say, oh, I really want to achieve it and I really desire it, and it's a matter of life and death. What happens if I don't get it? Oh, I'm going to do everything in my power to get it. Now, desire also differs from intention. Desire comes from a space of energetic attachment, whereas intention comes from a space of a knowing, a trusting. If something we desire is difficult to obtain, it kind of makes us want it even more. And this is why desire always creates an excess potential. Desire is potential by definition. Desire is when something somewhere is absent, but the thought energy is aimed at attracting that something to make it present. Now, intention neither believes nor desires. It simply does. It's a state of being. It's a state of knowing. And this small shift, almost like a shift in the kaleidoscope, makes a huge difference, because all patterns change. You see, a pure intention, which is called in Indian a sankalpa, never ever creates an excessive potential. And in reality transurfing, we always say, I do not wish, I do not want, I set a pure intent. And pure intention assumes that everything is already there. It's the knowingness that the thing that you want already exists, and you have simply made a decision that it will be so. This is the key to manifestation. It is like an almost accomplished fact. It is the calm realization that something will come into being and fruition. For example, say I want to go to the shops to buy some flowers. There is no desire in this. Desire was present up until the moment I decided to buy the flowers. The chances of non-fulfillment are extremely low, and if I fail, it is not the end of the world. In this case, the intention is free of desire, and consequently, the intention is also free of any excess potential. The thought energy of desire is only focused on the goal, and the energy of the intention is focused on the process of it being achieved with a knowingness. So when a person wants something, they often create an energetic perturbance of the immediate environment, which brings about the impact of balanced forces. When a person simply walks into the florist shop to get the flowers, then there's no energy. There's no off-balance energy in the energetic field, and there's a flow, and it just manifests. And so within the context of a lifeline, this is what desire looks like. Desire says, I want this, but I'm afraid I can't actually have it. And so I think of failure because it's so important to me. And so I'm going to radiate energy at a vibrational frequency of failure for this lifeline. Here, what happens is that the outer intention has the opposite effect. I know that I will have what I claim. It is already decided. And so I radiate energy at the frequency of a lifeline where I have what I want. So achieving your goal is inhibited by two types of excess potentials. Too much of a desire, which carries a belief, or rather the passionate desire that whatever the cost is to achieve your goal, and the battle with one's doubts concerning the possibility of achieving it. These are the beliefs within the mind. And the more strongly the goal is desired, the heavier one's doubts over a successful outcome become. You're actually your worst enemy. And when you get out of your own way, the doubt in turn makes the thing we desire even more valuable. We have already established that desire, rather than helping, makes things harder. This is why you have to step out of your own way. And so the success to fulfilling your desire lies in the understanding that the desire to have it must be replaced by a pure intention, which is a total resoluteness in the decision that you've made to have it. And once you've made the decision, you make steps or take actions to be it. Can you see the difference in the energy? One is from a lack consciousness, and the other is from a place of knowing that you already have it, and you're just going to flow into the action of being it. And so the importance that one attaches to the goal makes one determined to follow through, continuing to impact the outside world with the strength of one's inner intention. And when the mind sets an intention, it launches headlong into battle. It is the feeling of importance, self-importance, as well as belief that creates a mental habit of trying to put pressure onto the outside world. You will not get a single step closer to working with this outer intention unless you reduce your level of importance and the emotional intensity that you are going to associate with the goal that you really, really want. Outer intention is totally different to inner intention in that it doesn't have a striving to impact the outside world. And you never learn to work with outer intention by setting an inner intention to do so, however strong it is. The force is referred to as outer intention precisely because it lies outside of you. So just what exactly is this outer intention? It's extremely difficult to talk about intention within the limited context of any reference familiar to the rational mind, and yet we can bear witness to certain aspects of it. For example, the outer intention emerges in moments when there is a harmonious, balanced connection with the heart and mind. We call this the heart-mind coherence. And as soon as this condition is fulfilled, there is created a kind of resonance between the thought energy and the outer power of intention that picks us up and carries us into the corresponding sector of the alternative space where what you have intended about already exists. And so in this way, the outer intention is the force that makes reality transurfing possible. Switching the lifelines, or in other words, moving the point of material realization through sectors of the alternative space. And to ask why this force exists and where it originates would be as futile as asking why does God exist, or wondering whether there is a connection between God and the outer intention. Nobody knows these things. The main thing is that knowing that this force, this energy exists, and that all that remains is to take joy, follow your joy in the fact of using it. Just like we take joy out of being in the sunshine. So outer intention makes it possible to shift the point of material realization from one sector to another sector in the alternative space. And that's how you shift your timelines. And in the same principle as the force of gravity that indicates the possibility of falling from the roof of a building, nothing happens when you're standing on the roof, but as soon as you take a step off the edge and give yourself up to gravity, it will grab hold of you and throw you to the ground. So to give yourself up to outer intention, you have to achieve the unity of the heart and the mind, and then the outer intention will carry you forwards. Unity of heart and the mind can be done if the intensity of the importance you're giving a situation is 0. You see, the more importance you give, the more doubt sets in, which stands as an obstacle to the path of the unity of the heart and the mind. And when there is any doubt, the rational mind's desire to desire something, and the heart resists, or the heart strives towards something, but the mind suppresses the urge. And importance then beats the mind against the window pane, whilst the heart sees the open window. But because they're not aligned, the intention will not manifest. The heart often asks for what it truly wants, but importance has the mind trapped in a web of common sense which says no. And finally, unity may be reached, but usually the agreement is over the non-acceptance of something, as a result of which outer intention just goes out of its way to simply fob you off with something you do not need or want. And this lack of harmony between the motivation of the heart and the mind is conditioned by the fact that the mind is under the power of preconceptions, beliefs, false ideas, referred to here in reality transurfing as pendulums, which are just energy vampires that are there to suck your energy. And we know that pendulums pull us by the strings of any projected importance. So when you drop the importance, drop the I, drop the ego, that's when things really start to happen. And this leads us on to the second condition of using the outer intention by reducing the intensity of importance and abandoning any attachment to achieving your goal. Because remember, as I said before, you are the detached observer of your film script. And all of this sounds quite paradoxical, of course, that in order to achieve your goal, you have to abandon the desire to achieve it. Rise into the heart and know that you already have it. And we understand all aspects of how this inner intention works because we're so used to functioning exclusively within these narrow confines. We've defined intention as the resoluteness in the decision to have and then to act. And the difference between the inner and outer intention then lies in the first and second parts of the definition. If the inner intention is the decision to act, then the outer intention is closer to the decision to have. In the first case, you decide to, say, fall off a roof, so you run until you drop. In the second case, you want to be on the ground, So you let go of control and give yourself up to the force of gravity. So the thought pattern described helps us to cleanse us of the intention of desire. To start off, you consider the goal you want to achieve. As soon as any doubts enter your head, you know that you have a desire and not an intention. And if you start worrying about whether you have the necessary qualities to achieve the goal, it means you again have a desire. Even if you believe that you can and you will achieve your goal, desire can still be present. You have to want and act without fueling the emotion of desire. The intention, for example, to lift your hand up in the air and scratch the back of your neck is an example of an intention that's free of any desire or excess potential. It's just a pure intention to act, not the desire to act. And this is where the difference comes in. And this can only happen by reducing the levels of inner and outer importance that you've associated with your goal. You know you want to scratch the back of your neck, so what do? You just do it. There are very simple way of reducing importance, which is to come to terms with the possibility of defeat at the very beginning. Unless you accept the possibility of defeat, you will eliminate desire. So, letting go into the outer intention does not necessarily mean completely rejecting your personal intentions or just sitting at home with your arms folded, waiting for harmony to happen between the heart and mind and magic to just happen immediately. Nobody is stopping you from achieving your goals in the usual way. Eliminating the desire and the importance has the same beneficial effect when applied to inner intention. It is just that now the powerful force of the outer intention is then allowed to work freely in your favor and come to you, helping you achieve the things that you previously thought were impossible because you've dropped the importance, you've dropped the pendulums. So, in conclusion, in conscious dreaming, the mind controls the script. Dreaming is the virtual journey of the soul through the alternative space. The soul will not necessarily return if it flies into a realized sector of the alternative space. It is not desire that is realized, but your pure intention. That is the resoluteness to have and to act. The desire is the concentration of attention on the goal. The inner intention is the concentration of attention on the process of moving in the direction of the goal, whereas the outer intention is the concentration of attention on how the goal realizes itself. The goal is therefore achieved by the inner intention and by the outer intention simply chosen. The inner intention strives to impact the outside world directly, but the outer intention gives the green light for the automatic realization of the goal. And so the laws of nature, of natural science, only work in one given sector of the alternative space. Outer intention works by moving through different sectors of the space. Outer intention is the unity of heart and mind. It's the trust, it's the knowing. And so imagination takes place in dreaming only to the extent that generates the initial idea. The heart and the mind are united in negative expectation, which is why they are easily realized. Negative expectation meaning there is no importance on them. In reality, a dream continues in waking to some degree or another. And so if you want to exercise control over the outer intention, you really have to wake up. Whilst you live without any conscious awareness, reality cannot be controlled. It just happens. It controls you. And so any game must be played with an element of detachment, the detached observer, like you're just watching the play. Awareness is achieved by being detached from the game. Imagine that you're just in the cinema watching your script. And this detachment presupposes vigilance and a clearer mental clarity. You see, conscious awareness is not so much about control as observation. And this control should only be exercised to the extent that it allows the desired scripts into your life. In order to choose the necessary script, you have to imagine that it will be exactly as you desire it. Inner attention is resoluteness in the decision to act, whereas outer intention is the resoluteness in the decision to have. Outer intention is the power that makes transurfing possible. And so in order to reduce the importance associated with that particular goal, the possibility of failure must be accepted at the outset through surrender. And once you've accepted the possibility of failure, do not think, just move in the direction of your goal with an inner knowingness from your heart. And this is when the heart and the mind are in alignment. I suggest listening to this again because there is a lot to take in, but it is a progressive thing, and you already know this within yourselves. Your soul already knows this. We're just here to remind you, to remind you of what you already know. So happy setting your goals, happy setting pure intentions, and dropping the importance and the pendulums, and just trusting that the outer intention will meet you halfway because you've let go with a deep knowing that you already have. Thank you.